Intro. This
Yeah.
is Mikey from Legend of Avantris, which is a big deal. Hello,
Hey,
how are you?
how are ya? Happy to be here.
We did this before, as you can
Oh yeah.
probably tell.
Mhm.
Right, yeah, let's talk about the fact that this is, as you said, the 8th anniversary of Legend of Avantris starting, and how it all got started, and when you sort of realized it wasn't just mates getting together to chat.
Yeah, I mean, we started 8 years ago, which is really, really hard to believe today, October 28th, 2017. And it was something where when we started, it was really just for me
Hmm.
an excuse to actually get people to play D&D every week. That was really all I cared about, because it was so hard to pin everybody down. But then as soon as we had an audience to be beholden to, I get to play D&D every week. That's awesome. And that's how it started.
Hmm.
And then, we streamed for 5 years, effectively with no audience, very small, passionate, but very, very, very small. We were a good day was when we had like 20, 25 people
Hmm.
watching us at a time. That was a great day. And, I'm not really sure. Richie, who's my twin brother and our CEO, he would have told you the first day we streamed, he knew that it was going to be, that we'd be
Yeah.
here. And I always knew that we had great stuff. But really, I think it didn't click for me until we were going to quit. We were very like on the verge of quitting in 2022,
Hmm.
on the precipice, really, of throwing in the towel and just kind of going back to our old lives and just kind of figuring out, what to do from there. And then we just gave short form content a try,
Hmm.
and then when the first one started getting views and started going viral and started getting picked up in the algorithm, and then another, and then another, and then another, that was when I realized, like, oh my God, this is going to be big.
Hmm.
And then I think, it probably doesn't surprise anyone to hear that on episode 2 of Once Upon a Witchlight, which is our the Wild Beyond the Witchlight campaign. Episode 2 is where Chuckles the clown appears, and I think just after that session, like, I drove back to the place that I was staying at the time, and Richie put together all of the Chuckles clips that
Hmm.
night. And like, as soon as that session happened, I'm like, oh, this could be something. And then, here we are.
Chuckles the Clown made it.
Yep. Yeah.
How does it feel to be like this, for the joke character to be one of the main driving forces behind the success?
I feel like it's almost like a commentary on society and on algorithms and on shortening attention spans.
Hmm.
I love playing Chuckles. I love being Chuckles. And I think that it, obviously it's this thing where we have 8 years of content. We have tons of different themes. We have horror, we have drama,
Hmm.
we have all sorts of stuff. And I think it's just very classic that the way that algorithms work, the way that the top of a marketing funnel works, that the clown and the joke characters are always going to be the entry,
Yeah.
the gateway into our content. And I think that's great. I think that, if there's something that, and people say, and people say, oh, well, you must get tired of it. You must, like, roll your eyes and all
Hmm.
of that. And like, we'll kind of have some tongue in cheeks and like make fun of each other for
Yeah.
all of our goofy joke characters. But I think that, if me being a goofy clown helps, brighten someone's day just a little bit, like, even though it's been, over 3 years
Hmm.
since he debuted. I mean, I think that it's always a joy to hear that other people are fine.
One of my favorite voices that you do was your impression of Morning Frost, and I don't see it talked about very often, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, thank you, by the way. It's one of my favorite voices to do. That is one that has seeped into my everyday. I just talk like Morning Frost, and like a lot of Derekisms. Like,
Hmm.
our fans will know that there's a lot of just weird sayings that are effectively nonsensical. Most of those come from Derek. And so a lot of the Derekisms have basically invaded my brain and seep into my vernacular. But the Frost voice, like, I was assembling IKEA furniture
Hmm.
a couple years ago, and I was just talking to myself and reading the directions as Frost. And my friend who was in the like kitchen assembling something else, she was like, "Why do you sound like a weirdo right now?" And she used a different word, but for the sake of the channel, I will not say it. But I just thought that was very funny. why do you feel like a creep right now? And it just, it's really addicting. Once you kind of crack it, it
Mm.
just, once you pop, the fun don't stop.
Mastering a new voice is always an exceptional feeling as a D&D player and as
Mhm.
a DM especially. Um, and it's amazing how much you can dictate the personality of the NPCs that you're playing and things
Oh
like
yeah,
that. We
yeah.
could talk about that for ages. I'm gonna have to not, which makes me sad. Uh, how did you go from that to producing the Crooked Moon book?
Yeah, that is something that was, I think, inevitable. I think that, one of the things that was always something that I wanted to do was to make games.
Mm-hmm.
When Richie and I graduated college, the last thing we wanted to do was kind of go into the corporate desk job thing. And so after we graduated, we actually looked into what would it be to start a board game company, a tabletop gaming company. And we were a bunch of stupid kids that didn't know anything,
Yeah,
and we called one of the designers of our favorite games of all time.
yeah.
And we just had like a call with them, and he was very gracious enough to talk to a bunch of stupid 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
And basically what he said is like the industry is like super brutal. It's really tough. Like, go get life experience first. Like, it's too early. Go get life
Mm,
experience first, and then come back to this. And so basically that's what we did for 10 years. And so as soon as we got an audience, so basically the desire was always,
mm,
and as soon as we kind of really got that larger audience, we realized, oh my gosh, like maybe we could actually make this work. And we decided on a bunch of different projects, and nothing was really feeling quite right. And it really didn't happen until we were having a post stream
mm,
chat, with the cast. And I just had this eureka for the Crooked Moon, and suddenly, like our Edge of Midnight campaign that we played, I had the idea of the player characters being villains and really
mm,
narrowing in the theme on folk horror and then turning that theme of folk horror up to 11. That's when it all crystallized. I think that night I went up and wrote the entire outline of the adventure, named all the chapters, and none of that actually changed. So that's in the book. And
oh
so
wow.
it kind of like when inspiration strikes, and we obviously didn't expect it to be close to as big as it was,
Mm,
but that was the thing of where uh had to take the leap. I quit my job
mm-hmm.
and was like, well, I gotta make sure. I've been working on it, but I said I gotta quit my job. I gotta give this 100%, and I gotta risk it. And then Richie quit his day job,
Mm-hmm.
and then Andy, and then Derek on our team, and then basically it just we kept just each taking the leap, and basically devouring everything we could about Kickstarters, everything about crowdfunding,
Mm,
everything about the industry. And surprisingly, there aren't a whole lot of good resources that are publicly available.
no.
It actually is pretty mysterious still. And for as much as we devoured and researched, it still was only fractional compared
Mm,
to what we would learn just by messing up and getting our butts kicked.
yeah. Was it strange that the thing that kind of made you all go full time wasn't the videos but the book?
You know, um, not it actually stands to reason, right? Because I think that at the end of the day, when it comes to the stability, when it comes to, we have a lot of mouse to feed. We have 7
Mm-hmm.
cast members alone.
Mm-hmm.
6 of those are now full time.
Yeah.
Um, it's something where when it comes to algorithms, I mean, YouTube, you understand of the ups and the downs, how unreliable it
Mm,
is, and all of that. We knew that would really never be, that alone would never be a way to keep all of us gainfully employed.
yeah.
And so we knew we needed to actually kind of set up a business that was beyond just content,
Mm-hmm.
where we were able to actually sell a product. And it's very, very important to us that Avantris Entertainment's games, that we know that Avantress fans, hopefully,
Mm,
will love what we do, but it's not just for Avantress fans.
yeah.
We don't want people, there are a couple of, cheeky in jokes and all of that, but we want to make sure that are able to have a game that anyone who's interested in tabletop gaming and folk horror is going to love the Crooked Moon. And that also gives us the opportunity to expand our audience, expand our customer base, and stay gainfully employed. And now we've brought on like a pretty big team
Mm.
of couple dozen folks now that all work for Avengers Entertainment, and that's been super surreal. growing and expanding as rapidly as we have.
I can imagine, especially knowing that part of the YouTube success was from the Chuckles voice. So you've ended up from going from
Yeah,
the Chuckles to this incredible
yeah.
book. It's one of my favorites. Um, what was the biggest challenge writing the book apart from the research?
Just having no idea how the industry works. I mean, there was tremendous challenges, a tremendous number of challenges, and it was a brutal. And we talk about this on stream all the time of the crooked crunch, and just we had hurdle after hurdle, fire after fire, and it was an extremely brutal and painful process. And I think a lot of that was just from our sheer inexperience
Mm.
and our, some would call it foolishness, as far as what we promised. And the fact that it ended up a 632-page book, um, you know, with a ton of dice, miniatures, product by a bunch of people who did a ton of research,
Mm.
but doesn't, doesn't compare to actually learning the industry and knowing no one in the industry, knowing effectively, knowing nobody, knowing nothing, and then learning how to how to make it in the industry, much less a product that was at the quality level
Mm.
that we held ourselves to, which we were very zealous about.
Yeah.
And so that I think was the hardest part of just the sheer inexperience. And it's one of those things of where no matter how much we research, we had to fail a lot.
Mm.
And failure is hard, and especially at this scale when a lot is on the line, when there's this many failures and these sizable failures, you learn great lessons. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for every punch, every blow,
Mm.
every mistake that we made. But it was, I think, just the inexperience and the amount of failure that we had to do in order to learn to spin up this publishing company, I think was, biggest challenge for sure.
Do you have favorite subclasses and parts from the book?
I mean, I am a little biased because two of the two subclasses that I think I had the heaviest design. We had a great team, bunch of different writers. Our lead designer, Dan Dillon, is an absolute genius when it comes to design, and he really kind of helped bring all the subclasses together and into our current Avantress design philosophy and bring his touch to them. But I think the two that I had the heaviest hand in are my favorite because I got to put all my fun stuff in there, and that is the Circle of the Old Ways Druid
Mm-hmm.
and the Harvest Cleric. I think that thematically, I wanted to have a Wood Woes, Wild Man, kind of a Song of Ice and Fire,
Yeah.
Children of the Forest, Old Gods vibe, and then I really wanted to have a Harvest Cleric that didn't feel like the whimsical uh,
Yeah.
nature cleric, and that was very important that we hit both of those themes. And so, I'm also a huge fan of clerics and druids. Just I love clerics and druids as classes. They're probably my two favorite D&D 5e classes. So I gotta say those are the two.
Wisdom led classes are
Yeah,
always fun to play because you get high perception and high insight, and
exactly.
it's always nice to have those stats. I
And in
love
real life,
yes.
I have decent whiz, low ant. So it's easier for me to role play those characters.
I mean, it's fun to play because it always feels like it's kind of like in-game lore, so you can skip
Mhm.
that if you can't remember all the various bits of lore.
Yeah, I'm
Depending on
gonna make a
setting
roll
you're playing.
for it. I don't have to
Yeah,
remember it. Yeah, my
exactly.
character remembers it. I don't.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
The Old Ways Druid is one of my favorite classes.
Oh, nice.
That's the for those watching who don't know, it's the one where you can wild shape in Shillelagh to create a shield and attack more and cover things in sap, right?
Oh yeah, it's the bonk druid.
The
Yeah,
bonk druid.
basically
Yes,
you bonk. Yep,
it's
I love it.
great. Uh,
Awesome.
who is the most disruptive member of the Avantris crew when you're streaming?
Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly, we all take turns. Except for Richie. Richie's not that disruptive. He is the captain of the ship. He is our CEO and our fearless leader. And so he will get, occasionally get a little disruptive, a little spicy.
Mm.
But I mean, I think everyone takes turns being super disruptive. I get pretty unhinged. Derek and Mace can be absolute freaks. And like Nikki will just be like, completely out of pocket and
Mm.
just like, I can't believe you've done this. They're just things that she says. I'm like, oh my God. And Andy will absolutely indulge. But yeah, I mean, I think all of us kind of take take turns for sure. If I had to pick one who's the most out of pocket, I think that everyone is so used to Nikki DMing for all of us, but they rarely see her on the other side. And when she's a player, I think it's got to be Nikki is like, can get really unhinged in a very admirable way.
Just lashing out for being a DM.
Yeah, exactly. She's getting her revenge for dealing with the Witchlight Party and Carnival crew. Yeah,
I respect it. We all do it. When you swap sides, we all do it to each other. What is next for Avantress Entertainment on the book front?
Well, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. No, what I'll say is you don't spin up a publishing company with many employees and then needing to hit payroll without planning on doing more. And so what I'll say is we are, working on further projects. Crooked Moon is not the end. Crooked Moon is not, and we also don't want to be just the Crooked Moon company that's only doing folk horror. And so we have a lot of ideas, and it's kind of one of those things where we thought about all of the ideas and all of the themes that we want to do, and we're like, well, we got like a decade. We got at least a decade because this industry is just works at a very slow pace. That's just the production cycles of these books is like, I think in standard, like, Wizards of the Coast, I think timeline is like 3 years for a book baseline. Third party, and for what we can do, it's a little bit, we're able to kind of get that down, being a little bit more nimble. But it's just a long process. And so we're doing that. And what I'll say is, like, this is there's more than just tabletop games that we want to or rather just TTRPGs. I think that, like I've mentioned, Richie and I wanted to form a board game company. I love all sorts of tabletop games, and I love all media of entertainment. And so we have very big dreams, and so we'll see how like the next year or so goes, and stay tuned.
Bitsy dating simulator incoming. Got it.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. That's got to be like have all of the content warnings on Steam. Like that's got to have every single negative badge. Yeah, that'll be vile. I love this.
Be like 50 plus to access.
Oh yeah, exactly. Extreme age requirements. Yep.
But under the age of 51, it's very specific.
Yeah, and if you download it, your parents get emailed, no matter how old you are. It's like, how could you do this? How could you do this?
Police get alerted.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a favorite character you've played?
I think it's the classic thing of like, oh, well, they're all my favorite children, and I couldn't pick one. I think like I usually have kind of like 3 answers here. I think my favorite character that I've ever played is a character that probably relatively few people have seen me play, and that is in our Curse of Strahdanya campaign. And he is a lizard folk light cleric of Garrix, the Fire Lord, and he is effective, especially in the start. Serious as a heart attack.
Yeah.
Creepy, weird, dour, zealous, grim, and I think a lot of people would be surprised to see me play that character. I bring a little bit of humor, a little bit more, and more of him being and little less winky, nod breaking the fourth wall, but more just by him being such a strange alien outsider. That's where the humor comes in. But it's kind of a cop out because he is the only one of my characters who's experienced the full arc, beginning, middle, and end. That campaign ended in 2020 with a full ending, one of my favorite endings of anything I've experienced, and it was a joy to play through. So Sarnax of the Edelwood is that. And then a character that I'm currently playing is Ko Tetsutora. She is it's in our sci-fi space opera campaign, Stardust Rhapsody Anthem. She's like a heavy metal biker with a giant spike club that's electrified, and she is a kind of like a street brawler themed paladin, vigilante vibes. And she's an absolute joy to play. I play her every month, and we've been loving Stardust Rhapsody Anthem. And then finally, if you've seen our little silly ads, our Borg like that we've made called 13 Beers of the Local Cheese, for fun. I play Gary Goodberry, and in one shots, and he's a silly little wizard. And there's just like part of my brain where like it's like like the Muppets of where like
Yeah.
they would take over. They say like it's actually the Muppet that's controlling Mikey. Like that's how I feel. It's just the most of all of the characters I've ever played. Gary is the most effortless for me to play. I can just tap into that and just go for 12 hours if I have to. And so that level of ease and comfort. And some people will say like, oh, like Gary is just Mikey's excuse to like let all of his intrusive thoughts out. And whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's probably more likely. So anyway, that's all my long-winded answers of my 3 favorite characters. But if you ask me tomorrow, I might change.
Oh, I get that. I get that. Is it stressful planning characters for not only longer campaigns, but where you're going to have to kind of stick to them and it's like broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, it is stressful to an extent. In that a tremendous amount of work goes into our character creation process. I think that there's a lot of the classic D&D thing is you kind of go in, you take your book, and you just hand in your character, the DM, and say, hey, here's my character.
Yeah.
This is what I'm playing. The DM accepts it, right? We do it very differently. Our parties are extremely collaborative. The DM and all the players will get together and we will talk about archetypes. We'll talk about tropes. We'll talk about theme of the campaign. Who are we hitting? Balance, not just in class balance, which we do think about for D&D mechanics because we are playing a game. It's not just like an improv radio play. But also just for like character archetypes, making sure we don't have overlap, making sure that all of the core archetypes of the theme and the story that we're hitting are covered. And that another thing is thinking of the character web of like making sure that all of our characters have an idea of some sort of connection point to all of the other characters. So it doesn't feel like, there's, in certain fictions or whatever, you can kind of feel like there's one character only really connects, there may be an ensemble cast, but one character only connects to one other. And then beyond that relationship, they don't have any relationship with any other characters. So, I mean, it's months usually of workshopping. But I think it's stressful, but it's also really fun because when the characters that emerge are usually really, really, really fun. And the parties that have emerged from that level of work have been just an absolute joy to play in. And so I think it's all worth it.
Nice. I think that's more or less our time up. So this feels a bit silly, but is there anything that you'd like to plug?
Oh, well, we just released our 2 instrumental Crooked Moon albums by the Blasting Company. That is 30 new tracks by the Blasting Company. We still have one more album on the way. Our soundtrack with lyrics with all of our wonderful guest singers. Right, right now we have Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. We have Ramin Karimloo, who's the Phantom of the Opera, my favorite Phantom at least. And so that's still coming, but our 2 instrumental albums dropped. It's streaming everywhere. And if you miss out on the Crooked Moon, if you're interested in folk horror and you like TTRPGs, I think you're gonna really like it. There's minis, there's dice, there's a ton of other goodies. There's a little round angry crow plushie, anything you could possibly want. So if you like folk horror, it's all at thecrookedmoon.com. So that is my shilling. I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to shill. My fans lovingly call me the Shillmeister or the Shillmiser. And so I just gotta play into it.
I appreciate you committing to the bit.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much for finding time for this. It's been
Thank you for having me. It's been a great chat. Really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.